It started with an image that golf fans have not been able to shake. Shinnecock Hills, opening round of the United States Open, Jason Day reaching for his lower back after a tee shot, then being driven back to the clubhouse in a cart alongside his caddy. That was last month. Since that moment, the 13-time PGA Tour winner has played only 8 full competitive rounds of golf. On Monday, he withdrew from the Rocket Classic, and with that single decision, a career resurgence built over 3 years moved to the edge of collapse. To understand how serious this has become, the timeline needs to be laid out in order, because every step of it matters. At the United States Open at Shinnecock Hills last month, Jason Day began his championship on the back 9. He signed for 6 over 41 across those opening 9 holes, a stretch that included 6 consecutive bogeys. He then made par at his final hole, the first, before withdrawing from the championship. Throughout the round, he appeared to be in significant discomfort, reaching for his back as he hit what turned out to be his last tee shot of the week. When the round ended, he was carted back to the clubhouse with his caddy. That withdrawal carried a statistic that frames his entire career. It was the 12th time Jason Day has stopped mid-tournament and walked away. He did not rest. 1 week later, the 38-year-old teed it up at the Travelers Championship in Connecticut. He completed all 4 rounds and finished tied for 55th, but at no point did he look like a fully healthy golfer. He then traveled to the Open Championship and missed the cut, which raised the obvious question of whether his back was capable of handling competitive golf at all. The answer arrived quickly. Jason Day withdrew from the 3M Open at TPC Twin Cities in Blaine, Minnesota, pulling out before the tournament began. Charlie Hoffman replaced him in that field. 1 week later, he did exactly the same thing at the Rocket Classic in Detroit. 2 consecutive events, 2 withdrawals, and not a single shot struck in either one. Add it all together and the number is stark. Jason Day has completed only 8 full competitive rounds of golf since the middle of May. Now comes the part of this story that hurts more than the injury itself, and that is the mathematics. The PGA Tour regular season ends after the Wyndham Championship. Only the top 70 players in the FedEx Cup standings at that point advance to the postseason. That same cut line does something else that is arguably more important. The top 70 also lock up full PG. A tour playing status for next season. One number decides both the playoff spot and the card. Before the 3M Open, Jason Day sat 72nd in the FedEx Cup standings. He withdrew, other players scored points, and he slipped 2 places to 74th. This is precisely why withdrawals are so damaging at this stage of the year. A golfer does not simply fail to gain ground. He gets passed while standing still. That leaves one tournament. The Wyndham Championship. That is the entire remaining season compressed into 4 rounds, and only if his back allows him to start. What makes this situation difficult to accept is that this is not a season ruined by poor golf. Jason Day opened the year with a joint runner-up finish at the American Express. He followed that with a tied 12th place finish at the Masters in April. He also recorded a top 10 finish at the Texas Children's Houston Open in March. His best result since the Masters has been a tied 38th place finish achieved in early May. This is a golfer whose results have been interrupted by his body, not by a loss of ability. The prize he is currently missing is substantial. The FedEx St. Jude Championship, the opening playoff event, will be played from August 13th to 16th. The field is then reduced to 50 players for the BMW Championship the following week. The season then concludes with the Tour Championship at East Lake, where the purse stands at $40 million. Unless something changes at the Wyndham Championship, Jason Day will watch all of it from home. He is not the only recognizable name in that position, which makes the closing fortnight of this regular season unusually tense. Brooks Koepka also withdrew from the Rocket Classic, though in his case the reason given was personal. That withdrawal means the multiple major winner now needs a strong result at the Wyndham Championship to have any realistic hope of reaching the playoffs. Keegan Bradley is 76th in the standings. The former United States Ryder Cup captain has missed only 4 cuts across the entire season, yet he has not posted a single top 10 finish on the PGA Tour this year. He has qualified for each of the last 3 editions of the Tour Championship, and that run is now genuinely at risk. Tony Finau sits 87th. His decline over the past 18 months has been steep. He is now outside the top 100 of the official world golf ranking, and he did not qualify for a single major championship in 2026. And then there is the golfer sitting exactly on the line at number 70, which brings the most unexpected element of this entire week. Jackson Koivun is 21 years old. On Sunday, he won the 3M Open. It was only his 3rd start as a professional golfer and his 13th career start on the PGA Tour overall. That 13th start victory places him ahead of a remarkable list in the record books. Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods, Jon Rahm, and Bryson DeChambeau all required more starts than that to claim their first PGA Tour title. Jackson Koivun is in Detroit this week attempting to win back-to-back titles, and the victory has already moved him sharply up the official world golf ranking. Should he continue at this level, a call-up to the United States President's Cup squad becomes a realistic possibility. The contrast within one tournament field is difficult to ignore. One former world number 1 from Australia cannot reach the first tee. One American 21-year-old cannot stop winning. To measure what Jason Day is at risk of losing, his record has to be stated properly. He has won 13 times on the PGA Tour. He won the PGA Championship in 2015, and that year he climbed to number 1 in the official world golf ranking. Between 2014 and 2018, he won 10 times. That is one of the strongest 5-year stretches of any golfer of his generation. Then the physical problems began to accumulate. Chronic back trouble, neck injuries, vertigo, a series of additional health concerns that repeatedly interrupted his schedule. Speaking in 2023, Jason Day described how the vertigo would arrive for roughly 3 holes at a time before gradually easing. He explained that he would feel kind of dizzy and nauseous but could still get through the round. His solution then was straightforward. I just needed to take some time off, he said, adding that he also had to rework how he arrived at the golf course and how he approached his work. That approach produced results. Jason Day ended a long winless run in 2023 by claiming the At-and-Tee Byron Nelson, a victory that suggested the worst of his back problems belonged to the past. 3 years later, he is 59th in the world and unable to complete consecutive tournaments. There is another layer to this that has received less attention than the injury, and it comes from Jason Day himself. In June, he stated that his average results had nothing to do with the clubs. He described a specific problem with his ball striking confidence, saying, "I'm playing to miss a shot instead of playing to a target," because he did not know what the golf ball would do once it left the club face. He also addressed the frustration directly. "It's really hard to be patient right now," he said, explaining that in most tournaments he would produce 3 reasonable rounds and 1 poor round that removed him from contention. The honest reading of that is uncomfortable. An injured back and a swing he does not fully trust are extremely difficult to separate from one another, and Jason Day is currently managing both at the same time. His absence also changes the character of the tournament taking place in Detroit this week, and for several reasons. This is the 8th and final Rocket Classic to be played at Detroit Golf Club. Jason Day was one of the marquee names committed to the send-off, and he was among the latest additions to the field before withdrawing. There is a smaller detail that a section of the audience genuinely cared about. His apparel sponsor, Malbon Golf, is known for producing tournament-specific outfits, and Detroit has been one of the brand's showcase weeks. Supporters had been anticipating another distinctive look from the former major champion. That will not happen now. His commitment also came as part of a joint announcement with fellow Australian and content creator Ryan Ruffles, who works alongside him on the Lads channel on YouTube and received a sponsor's exemption into this week's event. With Jason Day out, that storyline is only half complete. The reshuffling of the field became a subplot of its own. Hayden Springer was added in place of Jason Day, and he received the news while competing in Monday's qualifier at the Orchards Golf Club in Washington Township. Hayden Springer is currently 132nd in the FedEx Cup standings and needs a strong week in Detroit to advance his own playoff hopes. He was not the only late change. Maverick McNeely, ranked 42nd in the world, withdrew on Sunday. Keith Mitchell, ranked 71st, pulled out on Saturday. Those withdrawals opened the door for Lanto Griffin, Matt Kuchar, and Zach Blair. Ben Coles was also added on Monday on the strength of 2 top 10 finishes in the past month, including a 9th-place result at the 3M Open. Blades Brown, who is 19, could have taken a place in the field but declined it in order to play a Korn Ferry Tour event in Utah, where his standing already positions him well for a PGA Tour card next season. Even without Jason Day, the 147-player field remains strong. Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay, Jordan Spieth, Hideki Matsuyama, Ricky Fowler, Cameron Young, Russell Henley, Wyndham Clark, and Siwoo Kim are all scheduled to compete alongside Jackson Koivun. Which leaves one question standing above everything else. Will Jason Day actually tee it up at the Wyndham Championship? The two outcomes are simple to state. A strong week there moves him inside the top 70, sending him into the FedEx Cup playoffs with full status secured for next season. A withdrawal or a missed cut ends his season before August is out and raises questions about his playing status for 2027. What should not be forgotten is that Jason Day has recovered from worse positions than this one. He has withdrawn 12 times mid-tournament and still reached number 1 in the world. He went years without a victory and then won the At&T Byron Nelson in 2023. Now tell me what you think in the comments. Does Jason Day finish inside the top 70 after the Wyndham Championship? A straight yes or a straight no? And subscribe for full coverage from Greensboro next week, because that single tournament will decide his entire season.